Title: The House on Whispering Hill. In the small town of Briarwood, nestled among rolling hills and dense forests, there stood a house. Not just any house, mind you, but a mansion of dark stone and towering spires, known ominously as the House on Whispering Hill. Its origins were shrouded in mystery, whispered about in hushed tones among the townsfolk. Some said it was built by a reclusive millionaire who vanished without a trace, while others claimed it was the site of a tragic family massacre. Whatever the truth, one thing was certain: the house was cursed. Legend had it that those who dared to enter its shadowed halls never returned the same. Their minds twisted by unseen forces, their souls consumed by the darkness that permeated every inch of the mansion. But despite the warnings, there were always fools willing to tempt fate, drawn by the allure of forbidden secrets and untold riches. One such fool was David, a young man with a thirst for adventure and a reckless disregard for danger. He had heard the stories of the House on Whispering Hill, but to him, they were nothing more than the ramblings of superstitious old-timers. Determined to prove his bravery, David resolved to spend the night in the accursed mansion alone. Armed with nothing but a flashlight and his wits, David crossed the threshold of the house as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the overgrown lawn. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the silence was oppressive, broken only by the distant rustle of leaves and the creaking of ancient timbers. As David adventured deeper into the mansion, he could feel the weight of its history bearing down upon him. Every step echoed through the empty corridors. Every shadow seemed to dance and twist in the flickering light of his flashlight. But still, he pressed on, driven by a combination of curiosity and bravado. Hours passed, and still, David found no sign of the supernatural horrors he had been warned about. Perhaps, he thought, the stories were nothing more than the product of overactive imaginations. But then, just as he was beginning to let his guard down, he heard it. A soft, whispering sound, like the murmurs of 100 voices speaking in unison. David froze, his heart pounding in his chest as he strained to locate the source of the sound. It seemed to be coming from the walls themselves, as if the very stones of the mansion were alive with some malevolent intelligence. With a trembling hand, he reached out to touch the cold stone, only to recoil in horror as the whispers grew louder, filling his mind with a cacophony of disjointed thoughts and half-formed images. Panicked, David turned and fled, his footsteps echoing through the empty halls as he raced towards the exit. But no matter how fast he ran, the whispers pursued him, taunting him with promises of doom and despair. It was as if the house itself were alive, feeding off his fear and feeding it back to him in an endless cycle of terror. Finally, just as he thought he could go no further, David burst through the front door and stumbled out into the cool night air. He collapsed onto the ground, gasping for breath as the whispers faded into nothingness. But even as he lay there, shaken and exhausted, he knew that he would never be free of the House on Whispering Hill. For in his heart, he carried with him the knowledge that some horrors are too great to be contained, too ancient to be forgotten. And though he had escaped with his life, he would forever be haunted by the memory of those whispered voices, lurking in the darkness, waiting to claim their next victim.